to be here. I have myself, Kyle Kirschbaum, and Wes Hobson. We're going to be jumping into peak performance, discover how to use natural solutions to create breakthrough active performance. And real quick, who this is for. If you're an athlete, a coach, or maybe just an active adult person, and you want to perform at a higher level, you want to break through plateaus in performance, and maybe even care for your body naturally, this is exactly what you're looking for. Also, specifically, we're going to be going through and showing you a totally new way of doing this that's safe, effective, and it's used by, as you're going to see, some of the world's top athletes. On this webinar, kind of what you can expect here as you take this journey with us, you're going to get an inside look at how this wide variety of athletes, how they're integrating essential oils into their pre-event, during event, and post-event habits to increase performance and support their health. Also, you're going to be able to take away from this webinar and apply these same habits without worrying about synthetic additives or long-term health concerns for short-term gain. So we're going to be covering a lot of great information. You're going to want to grab a pen and paper, some notes, and think about, before we even get into everything, think about what some of your pre-event or during event or post-event type of rituals are, and maybe what you would like to be able to support or improve. One of the most important things that we frame this whole webinar into is doTERRA's wellness pyramid. And you can see eating right, obviously nutrition is at the very base of it, exercise, rest and manage stress, reduce toxic load, inform self-care, and proactive medical care. And we're going to be touching on a lot of these different parts. Obviously, we're going to focus on and talk a little bit about nutrition. We're going to talk about exercise. So just kind of so you can feel and understand the framework for which we are going to be explaining everything that we're going to be doing. So like I said, our focus today, we're going to be looking at respiratory and immune health. We're going to be talking about energy and focus. We're going to be talking about rest and recovery. We're going to be going through those vital parts of an athlete or an active person's body that they want to be able to support for peak performance. So real quickly, kind of introducing a few of the people that have taken a large part in helping us put together all the content. First and foremost, Paul Holmes. Paul's a great friend of ours, but also, as you can see, is extremely talented rugby coach and also a rugby player. Played rugby in South Africa, England, and Scotland in the Middle East from '94 to 2000. Is the head coach of Tiger Rugby Academy. It's an Olympic Development Academy, one of the most successful and well-known here in the United States. He's the founder and head coach of 1823 Elite, head coach of the USA U27s program, and a certified World Rugby Level 400 coach. And the reason why I wanted to have Paul involved in this process is because we really, during this webinar, we want to help you see how athletes in high-impact sports are really using the oils and integrating all of these very, very powerful products. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, I want to introduce Wes Hobson. Now, Wes, what's great about having the diversity of these different levels of expertise is Wes comes from a totally different background and really super impressive. And he'll talk a little bit about this, but he's competed in over 220 triathlons from sprint to Ironman in distance. He's garnered 35 first places, 60 top 3 finishes, 96 top 5 finishes, and during his 12-year professional career, he received Triathlete of the Year by the United States Olympic Committee, top finish at a World Championships, coached national level triathletes for 7 years and held camps throughout the U.S. and finished both 3rd and 4th in the World Cup Series, and the first American to win a World Cup triathlon in Japan. Only 5 Americans have won a World Cup in the past 20 years. So really, really helping you understand the extremes here. And I'm excited to be able to have Wes here and be able to help us contribute to understanding what you can do to increase and perform at a higher level. Wes, are you there?
Yeah, thanks, Kyle. I appreciate you having me. And first off, I wish I still looked like I do in that picture now. That picture was taken quite a while ago, but I am excited to be here. And what I wanted to say was that, as athletes, we dedicate so much time preparing to perform at a high level. And we're constantly striving to improve our performance. We have goals, and we want to achieve those goals. And since we train many hours to get our body in a tip-top shape, we're always looking for elements that can enhance our body through all the stresses that we put on, especially those that are competing in the endurance sports. And we're always searching for that extra lift, that extra percent that we can get, that extra bonus that we can have for recovery. And this can be through better training, it can be through improving nutrition, enhancing sleep, maintaining your body, and also repairing your body when it's injured. And back in the old days, I used to train 20 to 25 hours a week, where I was swimming, biking, running, lifting. And throughout the years, I've coached some of the top amateur triathletes at both the national and international level. And I was just so amazed at some of these people, because a lot of the people I coached, they had 40-hour-a-week jobs, they had families, and yet they were training for Ironman distance or Olympic distance races, and they would train 18 to 20 hours a week. And I was amazed at how I would give these people training programs, and they would be getting up at 5 a.m. to do a workout, or they'd be spending at 9 p.m. at night for their workout just to get their workouts in. I was always amazed at these athletes. And now with the knowledge of essential oils that I have, which I just started experiencing 3 years ago after joining doTERRA, but it's also becoming more mainstream, I feel, in the athlete consciousness. And I see how oils can assist not only the full-time athlete, but the everyday athlete. And I've always felt like, since I've been with doTERRA, that the athlete community has been somewhat, I guess, neglected in general, just because it's such a fast-growing company and there's so many things that doTERRA has on their plate. So I'm excited to be here to discuss doTERRA oils and the other doTERRA products and how it can assist the athletes. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great to have the perspective and experience and things that only someone who has been through as many races could actually bring to this. And so you might be wondering, so we have Paul Holmes, and we know he's a professional rugby coach and has delved in that arena. And we have Wes. So Kyle, why in the world are you on this webinar? And I would like to think that I kind of represent the average person that just wants to get back into shape, that wants to be wants to be active, wants to be athletic, and wants to know, maybe they're not going to be preparing for a triathlon, but they want to get in the best shape that they've ever been in, or they want to get back to maybe where they were. And so these three perspectives will really help you understand some of the different applications that you can use. So just real quickly, Wes talked about this, and I think it's really important to understand that with essential oils, one of the things we love about doTERRA that we're going to be talking about is how safe and effective the oils are. Essential oils come from plants, all parts of the plant, and they really work in harmony with our bodies. And so you're not dealing with side effects from essential oils. They're really working with your body to support those systems of your body that you need to be performing at the best level that it could possibly be. So you're going to really enjoy being able to see how safe and effective they are and how they can support those different areas. The other thing is, I know that many of you probably are very familiar with the power of using herbs, right? Herbs have been around for a long time. They're great. They can be used at all different parts of both before and during and after races, or just in your active daily life. Stuff like turmeric we've heard of, and a lot of other herbs that we just know are super beneficial. What a lot of people love about the oils is that because they love the herbs, they immediately fall in love with the oils. And to give you an example of how powerful essential oils are, 1 drop of pure peppermint essential oil is equivalent to what is in 24 cups of peppermint tea. So we know some of the benefits of peppermint, right? People can use it to support their digestion. They can use it to support their respiratory system. But using the essential oil from it is just so much more, it has so much more potency. And so, again, understanding kind of the herbs versus oils conversation. The other thing is there is a lot of essential oils. Essential oils have really, doTERRA has been a big part of essential oils becoming very mainstream. So we're hearing more about essential oils. And it's really important to understand, especially as an athlete, performing at a high level, you know, your body is this fine-tuned machine that you've created that you really want to perform at this high level. And so understanding the quality of oils that you're using is paramount to this overall goal of peak performance. So as you can see, the blue section represents kind of the perfume industry, the synthetic oils that are out there that most of us have smelled in perfume and different things like that. The second one is kind of our generally regarded as safe standard, right? If you've ever chewed spearmint gum or there's a flavoring in a cake, typically this is kind of where most of us have used essential oils. And then there's therapeutic. You can see that the purple part, it's even a smaller portion, but often when you go to a spa or you get a massage, someone will use something that smells nice, you know, to help your respiratory support, eucalyptus or something like that. But there is a very, very small portion of essential oils that could actually be used in harmony with your body in, you know, 3 different ways, which we'll talk about. And that is the CPTG standard, the Certified Pure Therapeutic Grade standard that doTERRA has really set out to set as a standard so that athletes, so that physicians, so that a wide variety of people, and even just the average person using essential oils in their home can feel safe using without any of the concerns of if there are synthetics or there's different things like that. So why does quality matter? So something really important is that doTERRA harvests and works with local artisans where these essential oils grow naturally, where they have the very best chemical makeup for exactly the benefits that we want. So you can see these oils span everywhere. Wes and I have been in Haiti together. We've been in Jamaica together. We've been in a lot of these different places where these oils grow, and it makes a huge difference, the chemical makeup and the benefits that we want. So this is really, I love this slide because it really represents the gift that the earth has given us when it comes to essential oils. So just a little bit more detail about Certified Pure Therapeutic Grade. So we know that they're pure, natural, no artificial ingredients, fragrances, or fillers. It's beyond organic, verified pure, free of fillers, like it says, and pesticides and foreign contaminants, and it's potent. Like I mentioned, the plants are grown and harvested in their natural habitat. So this really is the key to everything that we're going to be talking about today. Without it, the effectiveness on performance and the way that our bodies would be supported would just not be the same. So I want to go through real quickly some safety things and a few different ways that you can use the oils before we go into the application. So there's 3 ways we talk about using the oils. And Wes, you can pipe in as I go through these, but really the first one, aromatically. And as athletes, we know, and we're going to talk about some oils that we'll be using aromatically to help systems like the respiratory system or to keep us alert. So this is the first one, and you can use it just putting a couple drops and inhaling it, or you can also use it in one of the diffusers that you can see on the right-hand side, which just creates a mist that's, you know, put into the air of the room wherever you would like to be able to receive that benefit. The second is topical.
Kyle, real quickly.
Yeah,
I just want to talk a little bit about the aromatic uses. We were just at convention 3 weeks ago, and something that Dr. Carson Smith mentioned, which I thought was pretty incredible, is that, you know, there's 20,000 genes in the body, and of that, 5% or 1,000 genes are related to the olfactory system. And what I came away with, which is impressive, is not all these genes are within the brain area or within, you know, the head. Some of these genes are on every organ of the body, and that's how I think how impressive aroma can be to the body. It's just not going straight to the head, it's going to all aspects of the body, which I think is extremely important, just shows the benefit of the aromatic use.
It was a super powerful takeaway. Thank you for piping in and adding that. Very, very powerful. So the second thing is topical uses, right? So systematic and localized effect, applying it to where you might have an area that you want to support, using it through massage, immediate comfort, and even immune support, so topically. And then the third thing that we talk about, and you can see kind of the triple star down at the bottom, using essential oils internally is specific to the CPTG quality of oils. You want to be very, very careful. You want to look at the bottle. and make sure that it's the quality that you can actually take internally. And even when you do, to follow specific instructions, to listen to your body and make sure that you're doing so carefully. So internally, you can take under the tongue directly, just putting a drop or two, or in a gel capsule like you can see here on the right-hand side. And using it this way promotes health in your digestive system, immune system, mouth, throat, liver, and other systems of the body. So just kind of a good frame of reference as we go into these uses here in a second, the different ways that you can use them. So essential oil safety is very, very important. When we talk about the potency of these plants, the potency of essential oils, we really want to make sure that we respect that. We respect that mission. And so you really want to make sure the third little purple drop that you see there, dilute with vegetable oil, not water. You can see the coconut, fractionated coconut oil on the right-hand side of the screen, the picture. It's always recommended, if you've never used an essential oil, put it on your skin or anything like that, that you dilute it first, and to understand, how your body is going to react. You don't know what kind of skin sensitivity that you have. But as we go through these today, you can see on the bottom of the screen, you can see the little letters A, T, I, N, S, and D. We're going to be placing those on the slides to, again, help you remember kind of the correct ways to use them. But all of the bottles that doTERRA has, you can follow the label instructions, the directions, and feel comfortable and safe. But just a few precautions there that are really, really important. So what are your top 3 goals? So as you join us on this webinar, I want you to stop for a minute. I want you to think wherever you might be, whether you are a triathlete like Wes, whether you're a rugby player or a high-impact player like Paul Holmes, or whether you're someone in between like myself. What are your goals? I want you to write them down. I want you to think about what you want to improve, whether it's being able to improve time or your respiratory health so that you can work harder, whatever it is. So think about those, write them down, and as we go through these, I want you to kind of take notes and understand. So the rest of this webinar, this is kind of how we have it organized for you so you know what's coming up. We've organized things into 3 sections. We have respiratory and immune health, we have energy and focus, and then we're going to be jumping into rest and recovery. During those sections, you're going to see us highlight athletes, a wide spectrum of athletes who are going to share some of their pre-event, during event, and post-event routines. And you can see this is Paul Holmes' rugby team here getting ready for an event. So just to kind of, again, create that framework for you. So let's jump into respiratory and immune health, and Wes will kind of dive into a few of the different oils and athletic rituals that you can create.
Thanks, Kyle. And before we start talking about this, one thing I do want to touch on as far as the CPTG testing is that doTERRA came about with this testing because honestly there was not good enough testing for what doTERRA felt like for their oils to be. And one of the things that I deal with is I deal a lot with pro athletes and a lot that are training for the Olympics and certain things. So some of the things that they wanted to know is, are any of these oils on the banned substance list? So I reached out to doTERRA and got a response from doTERRA, and it says, to the best of our knowledge, none of these are on banned substance lists. The reason why they have to say best of our knowledge is because the banned substance list can always be changing by the U.S. Olympic Committee, for instance, so it's up to the athlete to check on that. But the main reason why I wanted to bring this up is that because the doTERRA oils are pure, they don't have any additives, so they don't have anything that might be on the banned substance list. So I think that's very important as I convey to other athletes, whether they be athletes that are training in age group or on the national and international level, to realize that as we know, nothing is on the banned substance list, and I think that's very important for the athlete to know. One of the things that I use on a consistent basis is the Breathe product. Not only does it alleviate my respiratory discomfort if I had any, but in general it just soothes the airways. And you can, what I do is I typically put it on my chest, and it feels great and it has a long-lasting effect. Also, I use it sometimes to diffuse at night because it gives me a restful sleep. So I like this product a lot. I like it because it's a combination of different oils. And in addition to that, doTERRA has also come out with this Breathe All Natural Drops, which enables more of a sustained internal effect as well whereas the Breathe roll-on or the Breathe oil itself you can put on topically as well. So that's one thing that I really like. Another product that I like is a mixed combination of oils called Tri-Ease. And Kyle, I think that's on the next slide. And Tri-Ease is great for cleansing of the body systems and is frequently used for respiratory discomfort. The lavender that's in it is renowned for its calming and balancing effects. And of course, the peppermint plant promotes clear breathing and healthy respiratory function. I use this typically when I feel like there's more pollen in the air because it helps open up my respiratory system with that. Now, when I do feel like I need it due to some contaminants in the air of some sort, I will take 2 of these tablets within an hour before going out and exercising if I plan to do it, and then I will take 2 of the tablets right before I go and exercise. And it seems to assist me very well. So.
One of the things I was going to say, Wes, that you brought up when we were just kind of talking and preparing is if you've never used Breathe before, like you've never, especially Breathe, you know, before a race, like don't just show up to a race never using Breathe before and for the first time try it. I mean, you've prepared, you put all this time and effort. So what would you suggest to an athlete who said, hey, I really want to support myself this way? How would you suggest that they use this in preparation?
Well, my motto, no matter what, is that you need to train the way you race. And so what that means is that you have to prepare your mind and your body so that there's nothing new that occurs on race morning and on race day. And by doing that, that means practice. And the way I trained, it was like, okay, I've done all the training. Now I'm coming to this race or this event. I'm just going to be on autopilot. That brings us back to the use of oils. You don't want to wake up one morning and say, oh, I've got a race today. I'm going to use Breathe and just see how it works. You want to use it and see, because everyone's different. So you want to use the Breathe product, for instance. Is it more effective when I put it on a half hour before I go out and exercise? Is the Tri-Ease more effective when I ingest it a half hour before I go out and exercise? Or is it better if I'm going out for, say, an hour and a half of training? Is it better if I go out and exercise over, feel that effect, say, 45 minutes into my training? So it all varies. So again, it goes back to train the way you race. And if you think with that mindset as far as preparing, you'll have less anxiety come race day because you're not trying new things.
Absolutely. So I think that's a really important point. In the Breathe product that he mentioned, there's a throat lozenge that you can actually just, you can suck on the throat lozenge if you don't, want to use it topically like on your chest. And so in transitioning, I wanted to highlight, this is Karuna Di Libero. She's a certified yoga instructor, Ayurvedic health counselor, and this is kind of how she likes to use Breathe in like a different application, right, in her yoga classes. She says, I like to use Breathe Blend at the start of yoga classes with students so they can fully experience the breathing exercises happening in the classes. My students love it too, saying how they can't believe the difference that it has. So lots of applications, whether it's, high impact like a rugby or a football or long distance endurance or even something like yoga in this case. So this is just to kind of move into and transition into another part of respiratory and immune health. So we're going to make a transition into immune health here, and I just kind of want to highlight, this is Kelly Calvert. She's a professional dancer. She's danced for Cirque du Soleil, Odyssey Dance Theater. Currently, if you guys are ever in Las Vegas and you go to the Wynn, she's in Steve Wynn's Showstopper in Las Vegas, and she's a friend of mine, and I know we talk a lot about how rigorous her schedule is. I mean, they can't miss, right? There's so much writing on these events. And so as you can see, kind of the quote that will transition us into the next group of products. In show business, you can't miss even one night. So On Guard is my very best friend. And I'll let kind of Wes take us through On Guard here a little bit.
Yeah, On Guard helps support the healthy immune and respiratory function. It protects against the environmental threats, and it supports the body's natural antioxidant defenses. And it also promotes healthy circulation. And this On Guard product is one of the staples at doTERRA, but I think it should be one of the staples of everyone that exercises. Here's an example, is that after the LA Marathon, some race participants received a survey to fill out. And what that revealed is that 40% of the runners experienced at least one cold or flu episode during the 2 months preceding the marathon. And what was more interesting is that 13% of the 2,300 respondents had caught colds in the week immediately following the race. So to me, that is a sign of a worn-out immune system. And of course, you're going to tax your body as you do a marathon. I mean, the top marathoners do over 2 hours, but there's some people that are out there for 5 hours. So you're constantly straining that body. But what I found that was interesting about this is that people were getting colds and stuff leading up to the race. And that is not a positive, of course, as Kyle mentioned with Kelly, is you want to be, as healthy as possible leading up to an event. And so On Guard helps assist and support your immune system, and it's a great way. And I think the other interesting fact is that doTERRA realizes this, and so they have a whole list of On Guard type products. They have laundry detergent, they have hand soap, they have toothpaste, they have dish soap, they have throat drops, they have beadlets. And that just shows how important On Guard can be with supporting the immune system. And in our household, we use all those products. And so we are constantly always around a product that is helping our immune system. And I think that's important. And I think another trio of oils that I like, and we'll get into a couple of them later, but a couple of trios that I like as far as helping support the immune system is Melaleuca, lemon, and one of my favorites is oregano. I use oregano so much that people call me Mr. Oregano. But these products are high in antioxidant activity. They have great regenerative properties, and they're also cleansing. And so I like those three types of oils individually. I also like On Guard as far as helping with the immune system because, as I mentioned with the athletes that I coach, not only are they training 18 to 20 hours a week, but they got other stresses going on with family and with work and everything. And so we are constantly stressing our body. So anything that we can have to help support our immune system, I think, is extremely important.
Well, you always hear about, athletes that, or, people in general, but that train forever. I mean, how much time and effort and investment of even money traveling to do these things, and then all of a sudden come game day or come right before the race, like they start feeling themselves, their immune system weaken. And, how much is riding on that? So again, being proactive, using something like this. You can see the blend includes wild orange, clove, cinnamon, eucalyptus, and rosemary, just super powerful immune supporting oils. So take notes. If you've had that problem before or you have something coming up, take notes. This is one that you're going to want to integrate definitely into your all of your habits leading up to your event. So we're going to make a little bit of a transition here. We're going to talk about energy and focus. And I love this picture. This is Damon Stewart. He was one of the first CrossFit gym owners in the country. I think he was like 104. And he's coached athletes to 5th, 11th, and 22nd at the CrossFit Games, and holds the Utah State record holder for clean jerk and snatch in the appropriate weight categories. Forgot to mention them there. But just an incredible guy, and has integrated the essential oils into his CrossFit gyms. And so we want to kind of use him to focus on some of the oils that you can use for energy and focus. And I'll let kind of Wes highlight a couple here and then kind of make some comments as we go through these.
Well, to start off, Kyle, I've always said that talent is not just physical, it's mental. And, for instance, when I used to train all the time, I'd have people who could out-train me. But when it came to race day, I would always beat them. And so to create that mental strength, I think, is very important, because you can train and train and train, but when it comes time to perform, if you don't have that mental stability and promise within yourself that you can achieve something, you're not going to do nearly as well. So what I have found with oils such as wild orange and peppermint is that it revitalizes my mind and body, and it enhances my awareness. Wild orange, for instance, you can add a drop of water for a burst of flavor. During the colder temperatures, take 1 or 2 drops of wild orange in a capsule to support a healthy immune system. So I feel like wild orange is great. I like to use wild orange actually with peppermint. And to me, that's a natural high that I get if you just take 1 drop of wild orange, 1 drop of peppermint, put your hands together and then take a big inhale. It just feels so refreshing before you go out and exercise. And also, I do it both through my nose and through my mouth. And it's a great way to start off an exercise, especially if you're not really motivated to go do that exercise. Because again, we're constantly having stresses and we're like, oh man, I have a 40-minute run. I'm not that fired up to go do it. We'll take a hit of wild orange and or peppermint together and it's great. And Kyle, if you can go to the next slide. One of the things, here's just some of the benefits of peppermint. It promotes the healthy respiratory and function and clear breathing. You can diffuse it when you're feeling fatigued, as I mentioned. It also helps the digestive system, which I'm going to get into a little bit later as far as pre-race jitters. And you can inhale it, as I mentioned, as a non-stimulant. And there was a research paper that was done, and it was published in the Journal of the International Society of Sports Nutrition on May 29th of 2014. I thought this was an interesting study. And researchers looked at the effect of peppermint oil on running performance in males. And in the study, they used 0.05 milliliters of peppermint oil in a drink, which is consumed each day for 10 consecutive days. And then they tested the male students before and after the peppermint consumption for various indicators of cardiovascular performance. And this study was very impressive because the peppermint consumption considerably improved performance, and the oil improved the exercise performance, the respiratory function, the blood pressure, heart rate, and the respiratory gas exchange. And this is what they noticed in their tests. And it also reduced the resting blood pressure and heart rate. And the results of this experiment support the effectiveness of peppermint oil on exercise performance, blood pressure, and respiratory rate in these young male students. And what it showed is that there is an increase in time to exhaustion of about 25%. Now, how many of you out there would like to have the ability to increase their point of exhaustion by 25%? And I think everyone's going to be raising their hand. So that just shows you the potency of what peppermint is that these athletes, their work rate per unit was higher and they went longer. And the plausible explanations that this study came up with is that peppermint helps to relax the bronchial smooth muscles, and it increases the ventilation and the brain oxygen concentration, and it decreases the blood lactate levels. So when I first opened, I talked about how athletes were always looking for that extra percent and that extra lift. This research paper right here shows that peppermint has a strong case for that. Kyle?
Yeah, amazing how it just complements, like you talked about, getting that extra edge. So one other person I want to highlight here, this doesn't look like the type of person you'd want to run into in an alleyway looking like this, but Evan Esguerra is super impressive. You can see his credentials there. Probably the most impressive is his work with the military, with the U.S. Marine, and thank him for that. But you can see the list. Retired professional mixed martial arts fighter for 17 pro fights. He currently owns a fight club gym or a mixed martial arts gym in California. And this is what's amazing. 3 times U.S. Open champion, white, blue, and purple belt, Pan Am silver medal, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu World Championship bronze medal, 2007 Golden Glove boxing champion, bronze medal representing the U.S. team at the Muay Thai Kickboxing World Championship in 2004, obviously knows what he's talking about and has dealt with kind of all the things that we have. So again, really representing an athlete on the kind of the exact opposite, end of the spectrum. And these are some of the things, the oil routines that are just part of his, performance activity and also in his gym. You can see Deep Blue, which we're going to talk about before, during, and after fights and training. Peppermint on the chest of the people that he's coaching, or on his own chest and on the back of the neck to cool them down between rounds and promote clear breathing. And obviously what Wes had just kind of explained, the benefit that has. Peppermint in their water for the same reason. Diffuse peppermint and wild orange to combat the stinky smell of a gym. And then frankincense under their tongues to support mental focus. And the last one we're going to talk about a little bit later, and that's Melaleuca for skin health. As we know, when you're, rolling around on a gym mat at a gym for a long time, you kind of get an interesting mix of skin issues that you want to be able to support yourself again. So anyway, just great examples of how different athletes are using these. So this is one of my favorite products that doTERRA has. It's the Mito2 Max Complex. And really, if you think about your body, kind of like the little, really the mini engines of your cells are your mitochondria. And really, this is designed to really provide them with the best health possible. And there's you can see the suggested, you can read about the suggested dosage. All of us have, again, different bodies and different chemistry, and so you'll kind of have to play with what exactly allows you to feel, the best use of the product. But obviously take the pill when energy levels are down. Use before working out to help increase mental energy, support healthy cellular energy production, and like I mentioned, healthy mitochondrial function and aerobic capacity. And this is one of the things that I have loved the most, that it improves stamina naturally without the use of harmful stimulants. In the beginning, we talked a lot about how there seems to be this group of athletes sometimes that feels, or feels like they need to find something that will create really fast short-term gains, but without this long-term benefit. And what I love about Mito2 Max, and you can see the ingredients down below, that really helps support your body as far as energy goes and healthy circulation. So one of the must-haves as far as pre and even during performance activities. The next one that we want to talk about, and
Kyle, real quickly, about that Mito2 Max. Typically, what I do and I tell athletes to do is take 2 of the tablets an hour prior to doing exercise, and if they're doing a second workout, they take anywhere from a half hour to an hour before doing that second workout of the day, because a lot of athletes that I coach, they do anywhere from 2 to 3 workouts a day. What I also mention to them, if they are not doing any evening workouts, I tell them to kind of have their exercise, to not take Mito2 Max, say at 7 or 8 at night after a workout, because I think it does increase that energy stamina, and I use that more for pre-workouts and not post-workouts. So that's how I give the Mito2 Max to people.
Awesome, great perspective. So the next thing we're going to talk about, and this, if you remember the wellness pyramid that we talked about, at the base of it, right, was nutrition. And this is kind of the base of this whole thing, but we want to talk a little bit about the daily nutrient pack, and we're going to break down what's in it, but you can see the benefits that surround this daily nutrient pack and why it's so important. So, pick whichever one you feel like you need or you like to be able to support, and look at that or have that question as we kind of go through this, and I'll let Wes kind of go through and help us understand the history of supplementation and why the daily nutrient pack is so different and can be so potent for exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, this chart's a great chart that kind of talks about the history and in as simple of terms as possible of multivitamins. And basically 60, 70 years ago, companies were creating this multivitamin based on the RDA, or the recommended daily allowance that the government had for what a typical person should have as far as nutrition in their body. And back then, though, it was poor quality, it wasn't made very well, and also had artificial ingredients. And then there kind of came version 2, and version 2 happened starting in the 90s, and that's where companies came up with these high-dose multivitamins, and they said to themselves, well, if we need this certain type of nutrient, then let's give it as much as we can, and more must be better was kind of the philosophy. Well, what we found out is that as we go up that chart, yes, you start to improve your health, but at some point, if you go over that, there's studies that show that these megadose type vitamins were creating certain side effects, long-term studies. And so then, if you have too much of it for too long, it actually goes to toxicity levels, which is not what we want in the body. And if you look at that recalling the pyramid that we first had that doTERRA came out with, is one of our things is try to reduce that toxicity. And here on this chart, you can see what that version 2 was with the mega high doses. And that center kind of oval shape is where we should have all of our vitamin needs. And over here on the left side, that's typically what the average diet gives us. And then when you add these mega doses, you can see how you can have so much toxicity in the body. And so that actually creates these negative side effects to the body. So let's go to the next slide, Kyle. So what doTERRA has done with their research, they have taken the average diet and then they have added all these different types of nutrients so that you can get in that oval shape. And I think this is so impressive. Now, the cool thing that I found out at convention is that doTERRA is creating this daily nutrient pack based on the culture that they're selling the product to. So over in Asia, for instance, they have more of a fish diet. They eat fish more on a regular basis. So they aren't going to use as many of the omegas in their nutrient pack, whereas in the US, we may not be getting as much. And so that's what I love about doTERRA is they're forward thinking, and they're the first company that sells internationally that's just not, hey, here's a set amount of vitamins, take this. They're basing it on what that average diet is of that culture that they're selling to. So I think that that's extremely important. And of course, the goal is to get rid of that toxicity. And here's an example with the omega-3s, is that it varies between cultures as far as what they're doing. So I think that's so important. And the omega-3s, you know, it says it all right there. And the cool thing is that these are enveloped veggie soft gels. To me, that's not that important, but to others, such as my wife, who's vegan, it's extremely important to have it be a vegan type soft gel for her.
Yeah. One of the things that I'll add that I love about the E-Omegas is that they're infused with, you know, 9 of the, you know, the highest antioxidant essential oils that you know, it's this perfect blend of both of those things that we'll need. And I'll talk about this. So there's the delivery system is also another thing that's really important. And I'll touch on this here in a minute, but the way that this is delivered inside of our body is really important based on, you know, how what our intestines are lined with, and that the lipid layer of how these get into our body and how we can actually use them. So the next one is this is the vegan version of this one that we were just mentioning. So the vegan version, basically, you can see that the sourcing of you know, all of the oils and the omegas is just slightly different. And again, just like Wes was saying, to be able to appeal to, you know, whichever type of regimen that someone might have. But again, promotes cardiovascular health, supports healthy joint function and comfort, and provides nutrient for health brain function. This is the Microplex MVP, which is the other portion of the daily nutrient. And again, all of our vitamins, all of our minerals, if we want to go back, we can, if you remember that chart that we had, it's the optimal amount of vitamins and minerals we need to perform at the level we want to really create that foundation and base. And again, non-GMO, gluten-free, which obviously are very important. So the delivery system, when we talk about omegas, if you ever were to go grab like a normal off-the-shelf type of omega fish oil and you were to put it in a water, you would see that you could never mix it. But what doTERRA has done is put all of these oils and the omegas into an emulsified state, so it breaks down and it's able to penetrate and get into our intestinal tract or into the intestinal cells and help us be able to absorb and use all of the nutrients that we need from those omegas. So it really does matter, and that's why we talk about when you just grab something off the shelf, even if it's expensive, that doesn't mean it's better. And it's not just about all the amazing things that are in it, it's about how your body is going to use it. So anyway, one of the most important parts of that delivery system and the nutrient pack. Now this is also a friend of mine, his name's Wes Hollerow, and he has an incredible story. For those of you who can make out where this picture is taken, the bridge in the background looks like the Bay Area because it's Alcatraz. And this is a race that he's done a few different times, but a few years ago he found himself in a position where he wanted to improve his health, and he was just kind of way off track, and he really dove into marathons and triathlons, 34 marathons and triathlons in 3 years. And one of the things that I love about Wes is that he uses all the stuff we're talking about, he uses to support himself through these races. But this is a really cool testimonial. You can see some of his medals there from other stuff. But it says, before switching on the top right, before switching on an all plant-based whole foods living, I've taken doTERRA's Lifelong Vitality Pack as my daily supplement. I was able to rock 14 medals, 6 full marathons so far in 2013. The amount of energy, eating clean and natural vitamins has kept me hungry for more races. 7 pounds lighter after a month off racing. I'm back and faster and stronger than ever. And so, again, just the importance of seeing the application and how different athletes are using these. So we're going to transition in kind of the last section of this presentation, which is rest and recovery, which everyone knows is important, but sometimes we neglect. We're too tired. We don't give our bodies what they need, and it can really range from just resting and relaxing to supporting your adrenals. So Wes is going to kind of touch on a few of the things that are really important that actually tie back to also preparing for races as well.
Yeah, and by the way, Kyle, I want to meet Wes not only because he has the same name as me, but also because I won the Escape from Alcatraz Triathlon in 1999, so I'm sure we'll have some stories to share with each other.
Very cool.
One of the things is that lavender, it's used for its calming and relaxation qualities. It soothes the occasional skin irritations. It reduces the appearance of skin imperfections if you do it on a consistent basis. And it helps to ease that feelings of tension. And I kind of want to backtrack a little bit and talk about not so much rest and recovery, but it helps with your rest in general. And before we do a race or an event that we've been training for so much, what's going to happen the night before? You are typically going to be nervous. And so what I encourage people to do is to take some oils before they go to sleep to assist with their mood so that they can relax a little bit more, get rid of some anxiety, and sleep better. And one of the things that I use is I use vetiver oil. I also use lavender to help me for sleeping. And I use cedar wood as well. And those have this calming benefit, i.e. serenity. And I think it's so important to get a good night's sleep before. And what I tell athletes, I say, listen, if you usually go to bed at 9 or 10 and you have to wake up at 5 a.m. for a race, let's think about going to bed at 8:30, putting some oils on, and visualizing your race, of course, but just to relax. And it really helps to calm your emotions by using oils the night before. And then let's talk about serenity here. It promotes relaxation and restful sleep. It lessens feelings of tension and calm emotions. So serenity is a great blend of oils that helps that. One other thing that we don't have a slide about that I want to talk about is, in addition to nerves, is one of the things that I find beneficial that helps support my intestinal system is using the blend of Digestin. And that's been very beneficial for me and also for athletes to kind of calm nerves as you're leading up to a race, because typically people will have some of that nervousness, and it really helps the intestinal system, in my opinion. Okay, let's go to the next slide, Kyle.
Real quick, as I was just picturing, as you are getting ready for races, and I know that, and it doesn't even take a race, it could be a lot of different things, but as you're laying in bed, there's always kind of like this looping going on, right? Did I check this? Is this ready? What am I going to eat tomorrow? And it can just be extra, feelings of stress that just don't really need to be there. And that's one of the things that I love about Serenity. You heard Wes mention vetiver, which is a root, which is incredible also for easing your mind and really just clearing all of that looping and allowing you to really get that sleep that you need. So real quickly, Wes, before we go over balance and some adrenal health, this is Rochelle Ballard. So you've seen, I hope you're kind of catching the pattern here throughout the webinar. We've had UFC fighters, we've had mixed martial arts professionals, we've had dancers, we've had triathletes, CrossFit, really the whole spectrum. And this is Rochelle Ballard. She's a professional surfer, women's division ISA World Masters surfing champion. She's been featured in Sports Illustrated for Women, co-founder of International Women's Surfing, and kind of teeing up Wes here in a second for balance and a few others. You can see kind of the checklist below. She loves DDR Prime, which is a product for cellular health and support. balance, which we're going to talk about before surfing to kind of calm and really get grounded. And you're going to hear us talk about Deep Blue and Aroma Touch during the day. And then we've already talked about Peppermint and Wild Orange. I think this is like the third athlete that has reiterated this Peppermint and Wild Orange combo. So if you haven't written that down, now would be a good time. So anyway, just an incredible, incredible woman, a leader in her industry, and a great example of another athlete who is integrating those oils into what she's doing. So let's talk a little bit about balance. Real quickly, this is probably one of the most popular oils in doTERRA, not just for athletes. I think mothers with children could also be considered athletes, right? And there's a lot of moms with kids that use this to just relax and get centered, but athletes deal with a lot of that stress before you're getting ready for a race, at night, even during the race, or something throws you off and you just kind of everything starts to, unravel. Balance is an incredible oil. Like it says, promotes whole body sense of relaxation. It's great for grounding experience. And you can see the oils that it has in it. Frankincense, hoe wood, spruce, blue tansy are incredibly grounding oils. So evokes feelings of tranquility and balance. And I don't know, Wes, if there's an application that you want to add on that.
No, I really don't, but I think what people have to realize is that there's so much crossover of certain oils that are effective for different aspects of an athlete, and I think that's very important to see, and that's why I love the blends in general, because what they're doing is they're combining a lot of these together for the athlete to use.
Yeah, like we've mentioned this a few different times. Everyone's chemistry is different. Everyone's body is going to be a little bit different, and you have to be patient, right, and find kind of whether it is Serenity, whether it's lavender, whether it's balance, whether it's, vetiver that we've mentioned that's going to help you with that. So we wanted to create a special section here for adrenal health, the things that we could do after you've just exhausted your body to really kind of help get you back to a healthy state.
Yeah, and this is something that is, I wouldn't say near and dear to me, but it has affected me. And basically during my triathlon career back in 1997, I came down with chronic fatigue syndrome. And basically this is adrenal fatigue. And what's occurring is that you're in this sympathetic fight or flight that's in a constant state of stress. And part of it was I self-coached at the time, and I said to myself, okay, for the next 3 months, I'm going to train 23 to 25 hours a week, and 17 to 18 hours of my training is going to be at my lactate threshold or higher. So during this time, I was just putting this constant stress on my body, and what happened is 10 weeks into the 12 weeks, after doing a 5K race that I always did every Saturday with this group of people around our Boulder Reservoir, I went and did this 60-mile bike ride. And this is a cumulative 10 weeks of effort that I'd done with very little rest. I did feel myself improving, my fitness level was improving, but I said to my buddy who was a training partner with me, I said, man, I don't feel good. And he said, hey, if you just take another week and just train, and then you can start your rest block. And I pushed through that day, and I woke up the next day, and I was just down and out. And really, it took me 9 months of searching for answers and trying to find different remedies and rest before I finally came out of that fatigue state over, say, a 3 to 4 week period. But I was only able to exercise maybe an hour and a half. I was irritable, and so the adrenal fatigue is very important for me. And not only is it's affecting not only me when I was a pro athlete, but it's also, I've seen it in people who are trying to still train 10 to 12 hours a week, and they have family and work, and that's another way that can cause chronic fatigue syndrome. So one thing is that you need to concentrate on reducing chronic stress. And Dr. David Hill mentioned to me that the chronic stress produces 2 negative effects on the hormonal balance, and that's the progesterone, which is converted to cortisol, and the adrenaline inhibits the interaction of the progesterone within the cells. And so each of these lead to like estrogen dominance. So I'm not going to get into the details of it, but basically some of the oils that will help assist your adrenals are rose and patchouli. There's stress-reducing oils such as ylang-ylang, more of the citrus oil base, Roman chamomile, the calming blend, balance, frankincense, lavender, and I think frankincense and also helichrysum are very important for the adrenals and the thyroids. And for instance, helichrysum, best way I found is that you apply it to the temples and the back of the neck, and then you apply it to the wrists or the back of the hands and inhale. But I feel like helichrysum and frankincense are two important oils that can assist with your adrenals and prevent people from getting in that chronic stress that we are going to have as you're trying to exercise, because we do have a lot of outside influences besides exercising that affects our stress level, as we've already touched on. So Kyle?
Yeah, so just kind of reiterating that and transitioning to, you've heard us mention this by name or mention this blend a few different times, but really Deep Blue is probably athletes' favorite, or any active person their favorite, and mostly because they feel it so immediately, and it covers such a wide range of supporting muscles and sore joints and different things. But I think it's really impressive and important to know that as doTERRA has become more mainstream, you see universities, Division I athletic programs working closely with doTERRA to support their athletes using these natural products and the oils in these. So Deep Blue, we're going to talk about a variety of ways to use it and a variety of different methods that doTERRA has created, but you can apply it directly to joints and muscles, use with a carrier oil for deep tissue. If you don't remember what that is, that was like that picture of that fractionated coconut oil we had showed earlier on, and it's perfect for soothing massage after a hard workout. You can see the oils that are included in it, and probably one of the oils that will really remind you, or you'll be familiar with, is the smell of wintergreen. Wintergreen is found in Bengay and a lot of these products we're used to using. The powerful, potent part of Deep Blue is that we're dealing with pure wintergreen. We're dealing with helichrysum that's in peppermint, which helps circulation. So really, it's just an incredible oil that you can use to support your body. And you can see there's you can see the little bottle that's leaning on that tube. So there's one of those little bottles, which is about 84 drops of oil in the tube. So if you like to be able to use it by, like a lotion type form, you can use it rubbing it around whatever problematic area. You can use the roll-on, so the taller one is a roll-on. So you can use it that way as well. And there's another way, which we're going to talk about, which doTERRA has just recently come up with, but incredible, both for pre-event to warm muscles up, during event for any problematic things that are happening with muscles, cramping or something like that, and then afterwards in this whole rest and recovery stage. So just kind of highlighting, I wanted to throw, I realized that there's also child athletes, right? Maybe you're a parent of a child athlete or somebody, or a child that's just super active in sports. And this is a great picture. This is Miles Strompello. He's 10 years old. He's one of the top 5 skateboarders in the United States for his age. At age 8, he won the best all-around skater in a world competition in street ramp and bowl. And his mom says his favorite thing after a competition is to come home, put his stinky feet on my lap, and say, "Mom, Deep Blue me up." And anyway, just an incredible oil to use. And again, you can see some of Miles's different essential oil routines that he's integrated. We talked about Mito 2 Max, DigestZen on the road, Aroma Touch, which we're going to talk about, and CorrectX as well. But again, Deep Blue is kind of a staple. So I'll move in and kind of give the baton to Wes to talk about this newer product that doTERRA has created, the polyphenol complex.
Yeah, thanks, Kyle. And real quickly on the Deep Blue Rub and the Deep Blue oils, that is a mainstay for any athlete, and I wish I could go into the hundreds of testimonials I've received from people who have used the product and had so many benefits out of it. It's kind of fun to actually put it on a hot day and then go out and do a half-hour run, and when you start to sweat, you really feel the effects of the Deep Blue on you. But that's definitely a mainstay, and this is something that the Deep Blue Polyphenol Complex is something that doTERRA just came out with, and it's something that is has frankincense extract in it, and it's shown to help the support muscle and joint comfort and function. It includes proprietary standardized extracts of the ginger, curcumin, resveratrol, and other polyphenols to soothe the occasional aches and discomfort. And this is something that I use, and in talking to the people that I've used as well, you don't feel the effects right away, but it's something that if you consistently take it, again, everyone's different, but after 5-6 days, you really start to feel the effects of how this Deep Blue polyphenol complex can alleviate some ongoing discomfort that you might have. So it's a great in addition to Deep Blue itself. As far as Deep Blue is more in that specific area, and then the polyphenol is more in the internal area that's used.
Well, and I think as you age and you get older and you're still really, really active, I think a lot of the discomfort can move from like real surfacey bruising or something like that to something more involved with like a joint. And so you see a lot of people that have dealt with joint discomfort or want to support their joints go towards something like the polyphenol complex. So really, Deep Blue has really been created in multiple forms to be able to use. So I love this next slide. This is Evan, who we highlighted a little while ago in his group at the True Fight Club there in California. And again, you can see just, and you'll hear him talk about at the end of this, the staple that Deep Blue is. So in kind of moving into...
Kyle, do you think doing martial arts that you need Deep Blue?
Yeah, I don't know. Based on the picture, it seems like it's necessary. I love the face on the far left. So, getting to kind of the last part of this, we're going to go through more kind of rest and recovery and highlight a few more athletes. But a mainstay for a lot of athletes is lemongrass. And lemongrass, like you can see, combined with the carrier oil and massage after a hard workout. And I really want to emphasize combined with the carrier oil because lemongrass has more of the citrus constituents in it. Sometimes it can be very sensitive for our skin. And especially one of the things that we should mention is that when you're using citrus oils like lemon, lemongrass, grapefruit, and a lot of these citrus oils, you're not going to want to put on a citrus oil and then go run out in the sun. Sun and citrus oils don't have a good mix. It intensifies whatever that is. So you're going to want to be careful with that, but it's incredible for using after, a long run. And again, remember, we've talked about the chemistry of our bodies. We've talked about the different oils and finding the ones that you can implement that will really have the biggest impact. Now, the next oil is AromaTouch. And AromaTouch is, there's actually a technique which we can't get into here, but we could do a whole presentation on the different oils used in the AromaTouch technique along the spine to help create homeostasis. But AromaTouch is actually an oil as well, and it's incredible for comforting and relaxing effects. Apply to the neck and shoulders to promote feelings of relaxation and lessen tension. It's used a lot by massage therapists that use Doterra. We're here in Las Vegas, and so we have some of the biggest spas and this is something that's used, the AromaTouch oils, in places like the Bellagio, the Aria, and Green Valley Ranch, and some of these most well-known, top spas in the industry. So great for, if you can't make it to Vegas and you want to feel like you are in Vegas, you're going to have somebody use some AromaTouch after a race or performance and help you get back to and really support your muscles. So past tense. Wes, why don't kind of take us through, ways that you use past tense and how that might integrate, into pre, during, and post-race.
Well, typically I use past tense for post-train and post-race, and I use Entune more for the pre-race as far as awareness type things. And what I do on Entune is I typically put it on my forehead before a race. And past tense I use if people have any discomfort in the head area or anything like that, or specific on areas of the body, it does provide that nice cooling, soothing sensation. And what you'll find is that it lasts. You put it on, you're going to feel it there for the next 30, 45 minutes. So it feels really good and kind of it's another way to relax you. And I typically put it on my forehead, but also on specific places as well.
So, and one of the things that I think you would say, you mentioned about deep blue and sweating, is anytime you know you're going to be sweating, maybe don't put it on like, right above your eyes, right? And you're out sweating, and all of a sudden you have, past tense in your eyes, which is not a good thing. So give yourself time for the oil to absorb, and really be able to feel the effects of it, understanding kind of what you're going to go out and do. But past tense, it has a roller bottle on top, so you can apply it on the back of your neck or your, behind your ears or whatever area you want to support. But also aromatically, especially when you're dealing with tension and you're wanting to relax yourself, one of the best ways to be able to use past tense is just to inhale it. And really, it really melts that tension away. It really supports you getting back to like a very clear place. And again, you'll notice that in the blend, it includes peppermint, right? And peppermint has very similar properties of being able to relieve tension and those type of things. So again, going back to reiterating this chemistry thing and finding out what's going to work best for you. So I also wanted to highlight Melissa Guthrie. She is an incredible athlete. You can see some of her credentials there. She was on the Team USA in triathlon and duathlon at the national and world championships each year. And I love how she broke out kind of some of her pre-race activities and night before race. So past tense on neck and shoulders, and breathe in the aroma from what is on my hands from applying it. Correct X around the collar of the wetsuit to prevent chafing, which we're going to talk about next. And the one that I really love is this night before. You heard Wes and I talk about Serenity and Vetiver helping you kind of get clear all the looping before you go to bed and get restful sleep. And again, this is a great, just supporting that point. Serenity and Vetiver is an absolute must. So this is an oil that is a little bit different that maybe you wouldn't think about that would fit into this whole athletic paradigm, but it's actually super, super applicable. Melaleuca is incredible for skin health. It's renowned for its cleansing and rejuvenating effect on the skin. It also promotes healthy immune function, protects against environmental and seasonal threats, and it's also in one of our favorite products, which the image is flipped there, but if you're a good backwards speller, you can make out that it says Correct X. And Correct X, the blend, this right here includes Melaleuca, frankincense, helichrysum, lavender, and cedarwood. And so I want to give you an application of where someone might use it. You can see this incredible little guy. His name's Mackay Burdine. He's 10 years old. He's one of the top 6 surfers in the state of Hawaii, and participated in multiple, in 2015, the NSSA regional championship. And honestly, he has a list of different competitions. But what is one of the things you do? Surfing, right? If you're surfing and if it's like a reef break or there's reef and you fall off your board and you wipe out, all the things that can come from rubbing your skin against a reef really hard. And so you think to yourself, well, how can I support myself? Or if you're an athlete and you're playing on AstroTurf, right, and you get, you slide to tackle someone or whatever it might be, again, you're dealing with, the health of your skin. And so this is why Correct X and Melaleuca are such incredible, incredible tools to use for athletes in those situations. I mean, the testimonials, like Wes said, are incredible for seeing the health of the skin improve and being able to support that process. And these are some of Mackay's other, performance habits that he has. You heard Wes talk about Intune, which we haven't even highlighted, but it's a blend for focus. And you can see here Intune and peppermint on the back of the neck and spine before each contest for focus and concentration. Helichrysum and Melaleuca for a rejuvenating effect and improve the appearance of skin. And lavender and frankincense and fractionated coconut oil for skin health after a long day. So just so many different ways to be able to apply these. So really this kind of brings us close to the end of our presentation.
Kyle, real quickly.
Yeah, sure.
Real quickly. I would just say that to me, Correct X is like nature's version of Neosporin. And it's non-petroleum based, so it's a great way for, as you mentioned, for affecting the skin in a positive way. So that's what I love about CorrectX, is that it's all natural, which is great.
Well, and there's tons of applications, right? You know, we just saw Melissa talk about using it around the collar of her wetsuit to prevent chafing. And so every sport and every athlete deals with these type of things at a different level. So to be able to have something you can use that's natural, that doesn't have any of the synthetics, you know, that can really support you at a maximum level, like you said, allows you to make up that small percentage that, you know, that you're looking for. So doTERRA has created this athlete's kit. You can see Evan in the top. Second a fighter walks into my gym, it's a prerequisite to use the oils. So we've talked about some oils that are not in the athlete's kit, but we'll kind of touch on the ones that are. You can see the tube of Deep Blue, and again, there's a little 5 milliliter bottle of oil, that Deep Blue oil in that Deep Blue rub. So 84 drops of Deep Blue oil are in the Deep Blue rub. And you can see Breathe, Lavender, On Guard, Melaleuca, and Peppermint there. And then also what's incredible is that you get the Deep Blue Polyphenol Complex, the Mito 2 Max for energy and stamina, and the Daily Nutrient Pack. And really, you know, kind of the essentials for your athlete's kit. You can see it's $195, and the representative PV 125 PV. But you know, I really think, like Wes started this whole thing, that the oils have such a wide range of uses, and really athletes have been using them and have been integrating them, but it really hasn't been widely explained and educated. And so hopefully you've been able to come away with you know, 1 or 2 or 3 really key things that you can take away and use, and get the athlete's kit and start testing it and see how your body reacts to it.
Yeah, and Kyle, the last thing I want to say is we did touch on the potency of these oils, and I think people need to understand that you only need 1 drop of oil here, 1 drop of oil there. I think it's incredible the efficacy and the potency of doTERRA's oils compared to some other oils. So, you know, when we talk about 84 drops that are in the Deep Blue, that's 84 applications that you need. And at a time, you may only need 2 drops in certain areas, because when it gets absorbed through the skin, it goes into the whole body as well, which is great. And so the potency is so strong for these oils. And so I think that's another impressive aspect of the doTERRA oils.
Absolutely. Less is always more, you know, when you're using something as potent and concentrated as this. And I think really the only thing left, Wes, is to get a list of all the athletes that watch this webinar, and then any of their future success we can take credit for, right?
Yes, definitely. We only charge $1,000 for this hour for people, so just send us a check for doing this. But honestly, like, I'm going to go back to what I said, is that you athletes spend so much time doing that exercise and all that stuff. Use these oils to help benefit you to get that extra 5% that you need in a natural way, of course, not through using steroids or anything like that. But it's like it's not that hard to be able to raise your athletic level through something like this. And hopefully you all have learned some possibilities that you can use, and you can do trial and error. But I think that I know that these oils and these other doTERRA products that we talked about are so important for one's health and can definitely improve your performance.
All right. Well, we appreciate everyone's time. Appreciate you guys being on and taking notes, paying attention, and look forward to hearing about your successes, comments, and how it's improved your athletic performance. So thanks again for being on, Wes. Appreciate you being on. And
Thank you,
we look forward to, yeah, absolutely. We look forward to speaking with all of you very soon.